Welcome to Top of Mountain. Top of Mountain Historical Society did some work here on the lime kiln. It's situated in the farm of Tom and Eva Fair near Top of Mountain Loch in the townland of Mollynock. And in 2008 the Historical Society and Cavan group got together to clean this lime kiln up. It was covered at that stage by ivy, and people actually couldn't see it anymore, and we were afraid that the whole thing would collapse. So we did quite a bit of work cleaning it up and sort of pulling back all the weeds and everything and getting it fit to burn. And we decided at that stage that we would look at the whole process of how lime was produced, and we would burn the lime kiln. When this lime kiln was built in 1850, the stone at that time would have been drawn on the train to Lisbon from Belcoo Quarry, and the horses and donkeys and carts would have gone down to the village, the station house, and loaded the stone on and drew it up the hills to Top of Mountain. And I mean, that was up a lot of hills for the donkeys and horses. It was brought then up into the field here, and there would have been whins put in first, and a layer of turf, and then a layer of limestone, and they continued putting the layers in until they got to the top. The lime kiln was sealed off and lit at the bottom, and at that stage they would have burnt it for several days. During this time there was a great heat at the lime kiln, and a lot of the local people would have gathered at night and had a bit of crack, maybe a bit of singing and whatever, outside the lime kiln. It would have been checked periodically. In underneath at the bottom they would have taken some of the stone out with a shovel to see how it broke down. You can see the fire here. You need a really good fire to keep the thing going, and when the tenant farmers when the whole thing would have cooled down, they would have taken the lime out at the bottom and loaded it again onto the carts, and they would have taken it up onto the small farms and tipped it out. It was covered and left at that stage for about 2 days until it got damp, and they went back then and they beat it up with the back of a shovel. When the Historical Society burned the lime kiln here, we couldn't wait for 2 days, so we took the stone out when it was nice and white, and we would set it out on the road and pour some water, and we could all look at the process of the stone breaking down into lime. Back in the early 1800s, the landlords in this area in Fermanagh were encouraging the tenant farmers to look at growing other crops rather than just being reliant on potatoes. And especially Lord Aaron over at Crum, he had gone off to England to bring home oats and rye and a number of different crops. He brought the seed over to try and encourage the farmers to grow other crops. But the people over in this area here continued with the potato, and the landlord in this area was Porter of Belial, and the landlord on down was Belmore in Castlecool. At that stage Henry West was a lessee, and he had taken a large proportion of the Top of Mountain area from Porter and leased it out in small plots to the farmers. There were big families and poor times, and during the famine almost half of the families around the mountain were wiped out. Before the famine there had been 32 families, and after the famine half of the houses were left empty. They're still evident in the area, the stone ditches and walls round the little houses. You can see here we have lit this lime kiln again at this stage, and this time we have mechanical help, and we're putting the stones or the sticks and everything in from the top. Lime was a very useful product, and it was taken out then and put on the heather, and that broke down the heather, and we ended up with the nice little green fields that we have today. The lime was also used for a disinfectant, and the calf house would have been whitewashed inside and outside, and the cottages were also whitewashed with the lime. It was quite dangerous if you were slapping on the lime with a heather besom and you got hit in the eye, you could lose your eyesight. and it would burn the hands off you, so there wasn't many gloves or overalls in those days. You can see now here where the fire is dying down, and you can see the white coals, that the stone that's turning into lime. The story goes in the area when the lime kilns were lit in the early 1900s that the people would have gone along and had a bit of a dance, and they might have nicked a chicken from a farmyard and put it in and cooked it and had a bit of a barbecue. The members of Topham Mountain Historical Society meet periodically, and they look at various aspects of the environment, and they do a bit of litter picking and have some get together. The lime kiln here at Topham Mountain is actually situated in one of the oldest roads in County Fermanagh. This is known as the Old Coach Road, and it goes on down to Goose's Neck, and that road still remains untarred, and it's got very narrow and rough at the minute, and it continues out down the Officers' Braes into Temple, and that is the road that the judges would have travelled from Omagh to Enniskillen years ago down through Castlecool. You can see here now down into the lime kiln, you can see there's a mighty heat, and the lime kiln on the inside was lined with brick to keep the stone safe. Now we have the next day. We've come here now the next day to take a bit of a film, and you can see here the whole stone, the white stone, that we're going to take out now, and it'll break down once it gets damp or we put water on it. This lime kiln here is one of the very biggest ones in the area, and it's definitely about 12 foot deep. And there would have been a good lot of loads of lime taken out of this when it was being burned, when it was filled to the top. We also have to remember that the churches in the area are built, the stones are built, put together with lime mortar. So that was another good product that was produced here from this system of burning the stone. When they whitewashed the cottages, if the walls were rough and a bit unsteady, they would have often gathered the calf's hair or whatever off the wire and things, and gathered up a bit of cattle hair and mixed it in to strengthen the walls when they were painting on the lime. You can see here now the stone just breaking down when the water goes on. This is just an amazing process. The only thing, when Topham Mountain Historical Society meet again to burn the lime kiln, they have to remember to bring a steel bucket. It's now breaking down into a lovely soft powder.